Okay, there we go. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our March 2026 Sustainability Lab with the focus on green banking, which involves green banking is financial practices and products and services that promote environmental sustainability and reduce the carbon footprint of both the bank and its customers. So joining us today, we have Judy Baker, who's Vice President of Strategy from the Missouri Green Bank, and Claire Brindley, who is a project program manager with the Illinois Finance Authority Climate Bank. So we have representatives from both Missouri and Illinois banks. So we have full coverage in our region. So all of our constituents know about and have access to these financial tools. So we're going to start out with hearing from Judy and then Claire. If you have any questions, please save them for the end of the presentation or put them in the chat and I'll ask them of the presenters after they present. So we'll start out with Judy. Go ahead, take it away, Judy.
Great. How am I doing on sharing?
Almost. Okay, we got it now.
I don't know exactly what to do with this, but I'm going to move that away. Hi, everyone. It's really nice to see everybody. Appreciate you spending your afternoon with us. We have a lot going on in St. Louis that shares a border with Illinois. So I'm really glad to meet Claire and know that we can really hopefully coordinate some things that go on across the border. And thanks, Aaron, for inviting. Really glad to be here. So we're going to be talking about green banks today. And let me tell you a story. I was talking to I'm a former legislator, so I have a former legislator friend, and I was talking to him about green banks, and he says, well, I thought green banks went away, with new things going on in our government. And I said, oh, no, we are shifting and pivoting to be able to continue the good work that we've been doing. Clean energy uptake around the country has been better than ever, even in the year when they took away some of the tax credits. So in lieu of tax credits in response to them going away, the green banks are really trying to pivot to be able to be able to respond to the need and the demand that's out there. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about us in a little while, but let's just go over green banks in general. And why is my thing not? Uh, hmm. Oh, there we go. So why do green banks matter? Um, when a project fails, it's not because it was a bad project, because there really aren't a whole lot of really bad projects. They're all if they're done right, are are really good to have in a community, and the community gets behind them. But the financing might be too complex. The project might be too small. It may be too risky for conventional lenders, and people don't know where to go for what is considered risky lending. Although I will tell you that I heard at a conference not too long ago a very prominent former politician say that he believed that green lending and green investment was the best bet on the planet. And I think a lot of us would agree about that today as gas prices go up. So we're there to fill the gap. And I'm going to tell you more about that. So we offer financing products. We can also offer technical assistance. We can do audits. In an audit, for those of you who may not know, is really a side-by-side. It's if you stay the way you are and you're building that needs some retrofit, if you don't do it, this is how much it's going to cost you for this amount of time. And over the same amount of time, if you do a green project, at what point you become cash positive, that kind of thing is what an audit will do. We can do some credit enhancements, and we can support the project in structuring its financing. A lot of people just don't know what to do in structuring their financing. So the other thing we've been working on and have accomplished just most recently is standardizing our deals with private capital. So, and standardizing our forms and so that it's an easier one-stop shop to come in and get things done right online even. Who do we serve? All of these things. We can talk to homeowners, we can talk to businesses, nonprofits sometimes will like want us. We're supporting their work just by educating their constituents. Um, we are working right now with two multifamily properties in St. Louis. Public facilities, we have been working with the Municipal Investment Fund with St. Louis on what they call a public-private partnership plan. And the only way for them really to bring down the money that would have taken to do that plan is to work with us as a nonprofit. So we serve both rural and urban communities. We have the Missouri Green Bank has about 300 plus communities that are already members, and we help them both rural and urban. We also are working more in LIDAC areas for low income folks, so that so that they can participate in the green economy. And that's really our mission. We're a 501c3 for a reason. We are a nonprofit, and we have a mission. And our mission is to make sure that everyone can participate in the green economy, because it really does make living, day-to-day living, more affordable. So green banks often offer these kinds of products. They can do direct loans. They can do co-lending, put together a couple of lenders that are interested in a project, but not one lender can do the whole thing. They can do subordinate debt, or they can do senior debt as well. We do senior at Missouri Green Bank. Our senior debt is the PACE lending, and I'm going to get to that in just a little while. They can do credit enhancements. In other words, it helps for an investor to come in, or financer to come in, if they know that there is a way for the end user, essentially, to have some credit enhancements that help them lower their risk. Say they have a credit score that might be too high. Well, a credit enhancement might help. Loan guarantees. We can do reserve funds, which we have access to at Missouri Green Bank. Our reserve funds can help loan loss reserve. So it's the first loss, which also helps to bring down the interest rate. We can do bridge financing. Like I said earlier, technical assistance, a couple of different kinds, and then securitization ready structures. And I'll get into that more when I get to our CLEAR program. I'm sorry, that's the same slide, I think. Oh, no. So I wanted to talk about PACE lending. The PACE lending product, for those of you who may not know, PACE stands for Property Assessed Clean Energy. And what it does is it has usually in every state, it's been enacted as a district and been given authority in that district to issue loans that are below market, typically. And they can do, and why it's property assessed, why it was a good idea 10, 15 years ago, depending on your state, to enact PACE lending districts, is that, a lot of people maybe who owned a home and wanted to put solar on their roof. One of their calculations was, well, I'm going to sell the home in 5 years. Why would I put solar on it when I'm going to sell it, and then I will have paid for the whole solution, and I don't get the whole benefit of a solution that lasts multiple years. So what happens with property assessed clean energy is that you you originate the loan and the person pays it back on their property taxes. So it becomes part of the property, and it can then um, uh, when someone sells a property, the remainder of a loan, um, uh, what's the word I'm looking for? Uh, Turns over to the new owner. And if it turns over to the new owner, then the original owner is not out the whole amount that someone else is now getting the benefit for. Um, so PACE is a Green Bank compatible product, and we at Missouri Green Bank support both CPACE and RPACE. CPACE is commercial. We're focusing more on that these days, but we are about to put together. We're about to offer a residential PACE product again. We used to, but we've now found a partner that makes it more sensible for us. And it basically um, all of those that type of lending um, uh, is an arrangement sometimes between the energy district and the private lenders. PACE can finance 100% of projects up front and be repaid over time through a special assessment structure. That's basically what we've been saying. How to interact with us and a green bank. So the first thing you do is you identify a project, you estimate the savings, that's usually through the audit. You confirm eligibility for PACE funding. You get technical assistance. You can get that from the Green Bank, or you can get it anywhere you want, but we can offer it. And then you structure the finance as what they call, sometimes if there's more than one lender, or there's two or three, or four or five, it's called a capital stack. So you put together in a big project, typically several different types of investors, and make sure that the project can get done. And you close with the right capital stack then with your green bank. Green banks often begin with a pre-application, a technical assistance conversation, and then we start to put together what is going to be the best option of financing and what blend of capital is going to be the best for the project. At Missouri Green Bank, we use what's called fast pace, so that is a really easy way to go in and apply and do your first interaction with us. We are working on a community bank. Community banks can partner with green banks to serve larger and more complex projects without them having to have all the expertise in-house. A lot of banks, community banks, are afraid of green projects. There's kind of a bias out there against those kinds of projects, thinking that they're too risky. That's been the stereotype for many years, that they're just too risky, when in fact, in today's market, they are not near as risky as other types of lending. And I don't know if you all know what the CRA is, but that is that is a regulatory structure that a bank has to do some community benefit every year. They have to test to having done some community impact and benefit in through their lending, and in being able to partner with a community bank, with a green bank, they are able to get the expertise that they need, and they can also get credit for and be shown how they can get credit for the CRA aligned community impact. So we do more than just financing individual products. We're helping right now to create repeatable markets by demonstrating project performance, reducing perceived risk, and standardizing transactions. And what I was telling you before, the Missouri Green Bank has been working with the city of St. Louis on a project that started just 5 months ago. We are about to wrap up what they call a public-private partnership plan, and it is both a pipeline of projects and an ability for those to be financed, and a new tool of working with community banks. And I'm going to tell you about that in a minute. We kind of have started to see ourselves as matchmakers. I've been to a lot of meetings where there were people who had projects in the room and no financing, and you had financial investment people in the same room but didn't have any projects. One of the values of the Green Bank is to be able to put those two together, to matchmake a project with a funder, a private funder, whether it's a foundation or other financing or even equity. We also have really been we have a little bit of a learning curve, but we're getting there. Having a pipeline, and we do the technical assistance and the pipeline development for folks and the partner education in order to scale projects, especially in LIDAC communities where it's harder to find lending with just one lender. So we blend capital stacks. Green banks can combine senior debt, subordinate debt, grants, tax credits, guarantees, private lending to fill in kind of financing gaps. We're working right now with a multifamily organization in St. Louis that has in an $80 million project, just has a $2 million gap. And we're working with them to help fill that gap. This is especially useful when the project is strong overall, but has a gap in the upfront costs, particularly the pre-building stages where it's no one wants to do that part. So sometimes it's good to get some lower risk, lower interest rate senior debt involved. So in closing, I would like to say, if you are a homeowner, a nonprofit, a developer, city lender or advocate, the Green Bank can help make your deal work. And we would love to partner with you on that. So that's my overall kind of the nuts and bolts of what Green Bank are. And I wanted to just real quickly tell you about the Missouri Green Bank. We were formed as a 501c3 in 2022, so we're relatively young. We've really gas to the engines, so to speak, since we lost ARPA. So, I mean, I'm sorry, GGRP. And so because we've had to become active. Aaron, how am I doing on time?
You got a couple more minutes.
Couple more minutes.
Yeah.
So we are working with public and private partners to deliver inclusive financing for clean energy and building decarb, with a special focus on underserved communities. Our products are PACE lending, and our PACE is Treasury plus 3 or 4. It depends on the project and the risk. We can offer interest rate reduction. We have the community bank partnership I've been talking with you about. It's called CLEAR. We can help people with their blended capital partnerships, with gap financing. And then we have a button on our website, which is very easy for you to use, for anyone to use, fast pace. And it can be developers, it can be owners, it can be government officials, contractors, construction folks. Anyone can come in and just apply and start talking with us on fast pace. If I have one more minute, this is what I would say is a easy look at what a blended capital stack looks like so that you're not just in the dark about what all that those big words mean. And if you'll see at the bottom, impact investing is the least appetite for return. It might be a grant, it may be tax credits, it may be PRI, which is uh, private. God, I can't remember what PRI stands for. It's I'll come back to it because I'll remember. Ask me in the chat. Um, and then a direct pay or anything like that that has the least appetite for return. And then forgivable loans can be from impact investors or others who are wanting to just support a project and will give a loan without expecting um, payment if it all works out. There's always, things you have to negotiate. Repay principal only. Sometimes you'll have a financer wanting to do that. Submarket return is a PACE lender, particularly, and there's a few others, CDFIs, that kind of thing. And then the full market rate is an investor that you might have who's interested in your project. I hope that makes some sense. And if you'll see, it goes up the pyramid on how much appetite for return there is. Return is the primary motivation for the financer at the top. Last slide. Are the market building that we're doing around the state is looking for shared priorities in municipalities and the commercial industries, building a pipeline and making sure we have enabled the environment with policy and workforce and all of those kinds of things that it takes to support green projects. And that concludes what I have to say.
Okay. Thanks, Judy.
You bet.
Now we'll go to Claire. We still have her? Yeah.
Yes. Give me one moment. Okay. Can everyone see my screen?
Yes, we got it.
Great, thank you. Thanks, Judy, for that great overview of green banks, because that means that I don't need to go into what a green bank is very much, so we'll just get right into it. Hi, everyone. My name is Claire Ridley. I am the Vice President of Climate Bank Programs with the Illinois Finance Authority. Similar to the Missouri Green Bank, we are sort of a new nascent green bank. We were established as the official state climate bank of the state of Illinois in 2021 under kind of a landmark climate legislation at the time called the Climate and Equitable Jobs Act. The Illinois Finance Authority has been around since 2004 when it was consolidated from 7 predecessor finance agencies that had all been around since the 80s or so. And our mission up until becoming the climate bank and still after becoming the climate bank is municipal public finance. And so most of our work before 2021 was in the issuance of conduit bonds using federally tax exempt bonds to build nonprofit infrastructure projects such as new hospital wings, new university dorms, things like that. So we as an entity have been around for a while, but we are new to being the Climate Bank of Illinois. And so all of these things that Judy was talking about, different types of financing and different programs and loan options, those are places that we are trying to get to. But in order to operate as a climate bank or a green bank, you need to have, capital to loan out or to give out as grants. And even though our name, the Illinois Finance Authority, might suggest that we are a lending institution, that's historically not been our purpose. And so the first thing that we did when we got this designation was to try to go out and win a bunch of the federal money that was coming out under the Inflation Reduction Act and the Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, and then use the money from those programs to sort of slowly stand up our own programs. Some of that money has since been cut or removed, but we still have some of it, and we still have programs available to, try to invest in clean energy initiatives across the state. But we don't have as much flexibility as a more established or developed green bank because all of our programs sort of fit into these specific federal grants or categories. And so they need to be used for very specific purposes and meet specific requirements. But hopefully eventually we will be at the place where we have flexible capital that we can use for different flexible clean energy projects as we see fit. So everything I'm going to talk about today is available, currently open to applications, but I will also caveat to say that this is specifically for projects located in the state of Illinois. I know this is sort of a joint Illinois, St. Louis, Missouri call, but all of our products, you could also do business in the state of Missouri, but you need to do business in the state of Illinois, and the projects need to be located in the state of Illinois. So just wanted to say that up front. And I'm going to talk about two of our loan offerings, and then two of our grant offerings. And then, as I mentioned, all of these programs we're currently accepting applications, and you can submit an application right now. So I want to start off with the State Small Business Credit Initiative. And apologies, I have quite a bit of information, so I might move a little bit fast, but happy to answer questions at the end. This is a low interest loan program. The State Small Business Credit Initiative is part of a larger program run by the U.S. Department of Treasury. And they work with our Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity directly. And the Department of Commerce and Economic Opportunity of Illinois gave my agency, IFA, a small portion of this larger program's money, $20 million to use specifically for climate-related projects. So this program focuses specifically on loans to small businesses, usually small businesses either run by a socially or economically disadvantaged individual, or a very small business, and we'll get to those on future slides. But this loan money can be used for any projects related to basically anything environmental. Lots of people do solar programs. We do EV charging stations, energy efficiency projects, even broadband expansion counts as climate related. So if the project has a climate related purpose, we can do a loan for it. So specifically, this is a participation loan program, which Judy kind of touched on, but that means that there needs to be a lead lender that is not the Illinois Finance Authority that your organization is working with. And then the Illinois Finance Authority sort of comes in and participates on the loan. So these are a few of the borrower criteria. It is a small business loan, so you can't have more than 750 employees. You have to operate within the state of Illinois, as I mentioned, be in good standing with the Illinois Secretary of State, clear of any back taxes, and no bankruptcy judgments or liens in the past 5 years. But it is intended to, help organizations, small businesses, nonprofits that maybe don't always have the same access to capital as other folks. So, you don't have to have a specific credit score or anything like that. So the way that the participation loan works is the bank gives the loan, and then IFA will come in and participate, sort of buy down a portion of the loan at a lower interest rate. So the standard participation loan product that we offer is we can participate on up to 50% of the loan, or up to $2 million, whichever is less, at a 2% interest rate. So if you're thinking about, maybe the bank is offering you a 10% interest rate and we come in at half, at a 2% interest rate, you blend those interest rates, you're looking more at 5 or 6% instead. So it can really bring down those interest rates for folks looking for loans for these types of projects. We have a maximum term of 7 years. And that's the standard loan product that we offer. But again, as I mentioned, if you qualify as a socially or an economically disadvantaged individual, or if your business is considered a very small business, which means 10 employees or fewer, then we can do a 1% interest rate instead of a 2% interest rate. So it's, an even better deal. Most of the information on this slide is similar to the first year, but that's the main difference, is the 1% versus the 2%. And then this is just, I won't spend too much time on this slide, but I'm happy to send it out to the group if you want to look at it later. The socially and economically disadvantaged individual is a USDA defined term. It's a very long list. It can be veteran status, it can be racial status, it can be if you live in a rural community that qualifies you as SETI. So lots of different ways to qualify. Most of the loans that we do happen to be SETI loans, just because it is a really broad definition. And again, just to clarify, you can still participate in the program if you don't qualify as SETI or very small business. It's just that you're going to get the 2% rate instead of the 1% rate. That's the main difference. Again, just want to highlight that you kind of need to start this loan with the bank, and then the bank will bring IFA in later. So we have a list of banks that are currently participating on this program with us. They're local banks. Typically, we can't work with national banks, but this list is not exhaustive. These are the folks that are currently on our list, but it's very easy to become an approved lender. So if you already have a good working relationship with your local bank, and you want to do a loan with them, and you want to use the IFA's Small Business Credit Initiative program, it's like a 2-page form that the bank has to fill out and send to us, and they can get added to our list of approved lenders. So it's very easy to get added to it. But that is the State Small Business Credit Initiative. It's a very popular program. We get a lot of interest in it, particularly because of those low interest rates, the 1% to 2%. And yeah, that is SSBCI. I'm going to move on just to keep moving, but feel free to put any questions in the chat if you have them about SSBCI, and I'll get to them later. I'm going to talk about another loan product that the Illinois Finance Authority offers. But I first just want to make sure that folks on this call are familiar with elective pay or direct pay. I don't want to go too deep into it because it is a little bit complicated. But for the first time, federally tax-exempt entities can now apply for federal tax credits for specific projects, specifically clean energy projects. And depending on the type of project and the type of tax credit that's claimed, you can get reimbursed for 30% or more of your project costs via this direct pay mechanism, which again, entities that typically do not pay federal taxes are eligible for. It's a direct payment from the federal government as opposed to the traditional tax credit. But this has really, widened the range of folks that can benefit from clean energy credits and get credits for their solar or wind or geothermal projects. Unfortunately, the credits for clean energy projects are phasing out a little faster than we'd hoped. They were originally supposed to, extend until 2032 and beyond, and now they're phasing out within the next few years. But there is still time to apply for these credits on your project. So, if you're doing a solar or wind project and you're a non-tax-paying entity, I highly encourage you to look into elective pay or direct pay. The Illinois Power Agency has a really great website that gives an overview of what elective pay is. I just put the link in the chat. Again, I'm not a tax expert, so I don't want to spend too much time here. But the only other thing I will say is that while solar and wind tax credits are phasing out within the next few years, geothermal tax credits are here to stay until 2035. So if you are working on a geothermal project, this is a really great way to get a very large chunk of your project paid for by the federal government, and folks should take advantage of that. And if you are a municipality, you can apply for this. If you're a nonprofit, you can apply for this. It's a really great resource, and you should also look at the resources from the Illinois Power Agency that I put in the chat. That being said, I want to talk about our IFA's Energy Efficiency Revolving Loan Fund program. This is a program managed by the U.S. Department of Energy. Lots of different states have different varieties of this program. The U.S. Department of Energy gave the Illinois EPA $15.9 million to manage the Energy Efficiency Revolving Loan Fund. Of that, the Illinois Climate Bank was given $14.3 million to administer the actual loan program itself. And this loan product is specifically designed to help finance energy efficiency projects located in the state of Illinois. So unlike the State Small Business Credit Initiative program, this is not a participation loan. This is a bridge loan. So it is a direct loan from IFA. You don't need to have another bank involved. And I just mentioned, the federal tax credits that are out there for clean energy projects. The state of Illinois also has some other great incentives for solar projects. The Illinois Renewable Energy Credits are out there. We have some rebates from the large utilities, from ComEd, from Ameren. Sometimes folks will get grants for their clean energy projects, but they don't get the grant until later on in the process. There are lots of reasons why someone might need upfront financing for incentives, or when they're getting incentives later down the line. So we have this bridge loan product intended to bridge that financing gap and provide an upfront loan in an amount equal to any short-term incentives that you might be receiving for your clean energy project at the beginning, so that you can get your project up and running and up and going, with the intention that you would then pay us back with any incentives once you receive them. So again, federal tax credits, lots of the Illinois incentives, you can get paid for doing a clean energy project, but you only get paid after the project is finished. You often need, that upfront financing to get the project started. You'll give us the estimate of, this is how much we plan to receive in incentives upon project completion. We'll give you a loan for that amount upfront. And then you pay us back once you receive the incentives after the project is completed. So these are short-term loans intended to be about 18 to 24 months so that we can recycle the money quickly. And you would need to provide proof that you have successfully applied to these incentives and submitted the correct paperwork before getting our loan. But that's the general idea behind this product. So this is an energy efficiency loan product. So it's specifically for improvements to qualifying buildings. And those buildings include nonprofit or publicly owned commercial buildings, privately owned commercial buildings, and multifamily buildings with 5 or more units. So unfortunately, single family residential buildings are not eligible for this product. It's just commercial and then multifamily, 5 units or more. But our target audience really is, the folks on this call. We do prefer to work with units of local government, including school districts, and also any other public or nonprofit entities. But we will work with clean energy developers or for-profit entities as well. And again, just want to highlight that in order for this product to work, there has to be a building. And new construction is not eligible. And the reason for this is because one of the federal requirements for this program is that you get an energy audit or assessment completed on the building. And then any improvements that IFA funds need to be recommended in that energy audit or assessment. So it's intended to be, you're making improvements to an old building, you're like, these are the energy bills, this is how much we're spending on electricity. You get the audit done, you see how much you could save if you, improve the lighting, if you add solar, if you add battery storage, and then those are the improvements that we can fund. Importantly, solar on its own is not an energy efficiency technology because it doesn't actually reduce the amount of energy that the building is using. It's just producing its own energy, which is great. So we cannot fund projects that are just solar projects, but if it is solar with a battery backup, or solar and you're also doing HVAC improvements, or solar and you're also, replacing your boiler, we can fund those projects because solar will be included in energy assessments usually. It can't be solar on its own. If you want more information about the specific energy audit requirements, it's not that burdensome, and we have some resources available on our website about what the audit needs to look like and where you can go to try to find free audits. And then I won't spend too long on this slide, but this is just an overview of some of the terms on the bridge loan. Again, this is also all available on the IFA website. I sort of mentioned this before, but again, just want to reiterate that for this loan product, solar on its own is not eligible. No new construction, no EV charging stations, and most ground-mounted solar projects, like community solar projects, aren't going to be eligible because they provide, energy usually to multiple different buildings. And here we need to make sure that we're tracking the benefits to one specific building that we got the energy audit on. Tim, I see your question in the chat. We don't have specific qualifications for energy auditors. They just have to be some sort of energy professional. They have to have a certification, but there's not a specific one. They just need to be able to perform kind of at minimum an ASHRAE level 2 assessment and provide recommendations for building improvements. But there's not like a specific qualification that they need to have. Okay. Again, sorry, I know I'm going a little bit fast. It's a lot of information. So I will now move on to the 2 grants that IFA currently has available. So there is a larger grant program called the Climate Pollution Reduction Grants that was given out to different state energy offices across the country. The Illinois EPA is our state energy office, so they won $430 million under this grant program. And the Illinois Climate Bank has a subaward of about $137 million to carry out several initiatives, including these 2 grant programs that I'm going to talk about. These are both, one of them is for municipalities specifically, and then the other one is for municipal or cooperative utilities. I don't know if that's super relevant to this group, so I'm not going to spend that much on it. But we will talk about the stretch code adoption grants. This is just, again, an overview of the 2 different programs I'm going to talk about. These are grants for municipalities designed to help them facilitate the adoption, implementation, and enforcement of the Illinois Stretch Energy Code, which is a building energy code that is more energy efficient. You can get up to $200,000 to spend on municipal awareness and capacity building, community engagement and education. You can hire consultants to help do education about what the stretch code is. The goal of this grant is to help different Illinois municipalities adopt the stretch energy code. But I just want to make it clear that it is not a requirement that the stretch code is adopted by the end of the grant period or at all, because we understand that this is a decision that is up to city councils, and you can't use grant funds on lobbying activities, and you can't control what city council does. It's just for education and awareness building of what the stretch code is, why it might be beneficial to the municipality. One of the eligible expenses for this grant, is feasibility studies or cost benefit analyses of how much you might save by adopting the stretch code in the long run. This grant is open now, again, available to Illinois municipalities, up to $200,000 for training, outreach, education, awareness, capacity building. There's a long list of eligible activities in our notice of funding opportunity, which I encourage everyone to read. And this application is open until April 30th of this year, so about exactly a month from now. But it is also reopening every year for about 5 years. So it will be around for a while. So that is one grant that we have for municipalities. Oh, and then here's a list of eligible and non-eligible activities. Again, just to highlight, these are planning grants. So no equipment purchases, no construction, nothing like that. It's more just training, education, planning activities. Okay, and then again, I don't know how relevant this will be to this group, but if any of you happen to be a municipal electric utility, the state of Illinois has passed recently a Clean, Reliable, and Affordable Grid Act, or Reliable, yeah, Grid Affordability Act, that requires certain integrated resource planning requirements, and we have grants that can help you create those integrated resource plans, and sort of do long-term clean energy planning strategies. So if you happen to be a municipal electric utility and you want to work on a clean energy plan, again, this is a planning grant. This is another thing that you can apply for. It's open until April 17th. And also up to $200,000, depending on which eligible activities you're interested in pursuing. Things that you could fund under this grant might be technical and financial assessments, hiring consultants or technical experts to do these clean energy plans, scenario modeling, building staff capacity for procurement readiness, making GHG emission models or GHG tracking tools or resources. And again, this is open to any municipal electric utilities or cooperative utilities, but I'm not sure if any of you are that on this call.
Claire, most of our area is within the Ameren service area. Is there any part of that program that's would relate to us, even if Ameren is our provider?
No, this is only for folks that are their own utilities, that have to come up with their own clean energy plans.
Okay.
So yeah, probably not relevant to most of this group,
Okay.
but thanks for letting me know. Okay, sorry, I know that I talked a lot and I probably talked a little bit too fast. But those are the offerings that IFA has open right now that might be relevant to folks on this group. If you just want to learn more about any of the loan products, I'm always happy to chat more about them. I also have this slide about other opportunities that we have open. Judy also talked about PACE programs. The Illinois Finance Authority also has a commercial PACE program available. And then these are just a few other opportunities that are coming down the pike as we continue to develop with the grant funds that we have. The best way to keep apprised of all of this is to join our newsletter. So I'm putting the link to sign up for our newsletter in the chat. We don't send a ton of emails, I promise. We send one maybe every every 1 to 2 weeks, just giving an update on what different opportunities are open, what you can expect to see later. So if you just want to, keep in the know about, when the fleet electrification loans are going to open, I would highly recommend signing up for the newsletter. And if you have any questions about anything that I talked about today, again, I know that I spoke quickly. Feel free to reach out or learn more on our website. It's illinoisclimatebank.com. And I will put my email in the chat.
Hey, is that your whole presentation?
Yes.
Okay. When you're ready, okay, stop sharing. Okay, we'll open up the floor for questions. Raise your virtual hand and I'll call on you if you so have one.
That's a lot of information in a shorter period of time.
I know, I'm sorry.
Well, both of us, but
Yes.
and the whole anything about the Green Bank is not easy to just run through. There's so many options, so many, and you've seen one Green Bank project, you've seen one Green Bank project.
Judy, you mentioned something about communities that are members. Does that just mean
Yes,
they're located somewhere or do they need to join
they're
somehow?
municipalities, so it'll be a county or a city. And like I said, we have 300 plus across Missouri, and St. Louis City just came in. St. Louis County has been in for a while,
So they
has been a
they
member.
they need to contact you and do something to become a member, not just
Yes.
okay.
Yep. It's not automatic, but it's not hard either.
Okay, great.
We have small, rural, we have large um, municipalities. So here, uh, uh, the headquarters is in Columbia, and the city is in, and the county is not yet, but we're working on it.
Hmm. Okay, thanks. Go ahead, Jasmine.
Hi, folks. I'm Jasmine. I'm Executive Director of Bill Missouri Health. I was fascinated at all of this, and I was curious as to how do you all basically get out to the nonprofits that may not think about this as an option as they think about, restructuring their building or, making it more energy efficient and green, adding solar panels, things like that. Because I would imagine a lot of nonprofits probably just are like, we need to fundraise and get grants, and they don't even think about this potential financing option.
That is such a great question. I'll jump in, Claire, and you can follow on. So we have just gone through a series of convenings of nonprofits in St. Louis. And we also have done a few in Kansas City, kind of more of a one-on-one, but the convenings were they were very helpful for the both the nonprofits that are interested in clean energy and nonprofits that are serving people with human needs. So you're working on a project right now where we're going to help a daycare center that's going into a big green development, and we're going to help them with their costs, make it more affordable for them to use the green energy. So sometimes it's one-on-one, sometimes it can be uh, more generalized convenings. And I bet you could even get a grant to do some convenings in your area. Where are you?
Well, I'm physically in St. Louis, but we work
Yeah,
statewide.
yeah. I I wouldn't be surprised if we couldn't get a grant to convene nonprofits, at least on a Zoom,
Mhm.
to learn more about green banks. One STL, of course, is a good resource
Mhm.
to do that kind of education as well, right, Aaron? You could probably even do some convenings for nonprofits only, right?
We can look into it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And
But that's a
all my
really good question because, um, nonprofits are looking to save money anywhere they can, and they need to be participating in this new green economy.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we provide fiscal sponsorships to groups that are looking to potentially become a nonprofit or need our sort of back office support while they wait on the IRS to submit their ruling. But we do climate and health is one of our focus areas, and so I'm aware of a lot of nonprofits that work on these issues that actually have structures. We're fully remote. My two staff
Yeah.
members are in Kansas City.
Okay. Interesting. Okay. It
Thank
wouldn't
you.
be hard. It wouldn't be hard.
Yeah, and just to add on, it's a lot of this, honestly. I'm probably presenting in webinars like at least once a week, and leaning on a lot of our different networks and universities have a lot of great connections and events that they put on. Try to do some travel to different parts of the state. So yeah, a lot of this, honestly, but there's always more that we could be doing. At least for IFA in general, while we do offer our products to nonprofits, uh, our our target audience tends more to be municipalities. And so our outreach there is often targeted at like the municipal leagues and other groups that manage municipalities. But we tend to see a lot of churches actually for our state small business credit initiative. That's kind of the group that we tend to see the most because a lot of churches are installing solar right now
Yeah,
to
yeah,
cut down on energy costs.
you can imagine.
Claire, we have a program here called the Green Cities Challenge. I don't know if you've been connected with anyone there, but we have really strong participation from munis in the Illinois side of the region. So if you have not presented to them, I'll introduce you to the
Yeah,
organizers.
I can't recall off the top of my head. It's very possible, but I would love to be connected if we haven't already.
Okay. You would have known, I think. It was the folks at the Missouri Botanical Garden organize it.
Mhm.
But it's again, it's a whole region by state initiative, but there's several municipalities in Illinois that participate. I will make that connection.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Christopher.
Yeah, thank you. I'm living in Metro East in a small village called Glen Carbon, and a term that has really gotten everybody agitated in the area um, are data centers. And I didn't
Mhm.
hear the words data centers mentioned at all in either of your presentations. So my question is there a role for green banks vis-a-vis data centers?
I can start.
Okay.
I'm not quite sure what IFA's role specifically is going to be, but I know that this is something that is high on the minds of folks in Illinois, and that was one of the driving factors of pushing the Clean, Reliable Grid Affordability Act that passed recently, which is trying to get ahead of what's going to be an extreme increased need for electricity and burden on the grid. I know that IFA was named in that legislation as an entity that's going to manage a revolving loan fund for geothermal projects. And they're also, um, the state of Illinois is working on a geothermal rec program. Right now we have solar recs, which are solar renewable energy credits, but geothermal renewable energy credits are going to become available starting in 2028. And I think that Illinois is thinking a lot long and hard about how to use geothermal to create increased energy supply, and also thinking about energy storage, which IFA is going to play a role in. So I guess all that to say is we know that that's going to be an issue that's going to need to be addressed, and the state is thinking about how the Green Bank is going to play a role, but we don't have specifics yet.
Well, Aaron spoke about the Green Cities Challenge, and that's how I found out about this this call, which I'm really happy to participate in. Um, but at our first meeting with Gene Ponzi uh, here in Illinois, with the local municipalities who are been participating in the Green Cities Challenge now for the last 8 to 10 years, thanks to Jean Ponzi getting us all sparked up, as you know she can do. Um, but there is legislation that, well, at our meeting, data centers were discussed considerably. There's legislation now that's being considered SB 4016, HB 5515, the Illinois General Assembly. I don't know what the status of this legislation is, but it's designed to protect water, energy, and ratepayers from data center impacts. So I'm just letting you know that that's
You
out
know,
there.
Christopher, do you know how that legislation is doing? Is it,
I don't.
you don't know if it's gonna looking
I
like it
don't, but
could,
I don't, but I can find out pretty quickly.
It's
I mean,
moving.
one of the, go
It's
ahead.
it's been in and out of committee.
In and out. When does your legislature quit? Do you know?
End of May.
End of May, ours too. It's funny you should bring up the politics of it, because that's what I was going to say. I mean, Illinois is probably going to do better on data centers than Missouri, honestly, because they it will be a really important thing for us to really hone in on policy making around data centers. I mean, if any given state or municipality can require for the data center to offset their energy consumption with some energy production, it would be really helpful in, the average person who's buying energy, will help their rates not just skyrocket. And, they're already going up even without the data centers. So there is some real concern about these data centers not being required to produce some of their own energy. And they all can. Geothermal can be put underneath a parking lot before they build. It can be put on, solar can be put on the roof. I mean, there is a lot of offsetting that could happen here but, will they invest in it? They have to then pass their cost on to the customers that they have. So we're going to have to find a way to do both. So both offset the energy and help them pay for it or require it or something that makes it happen.
Judy, there's a question in the chat that I think was for you. Tim asked if I think you were talking about the convenings that you had with nonprofits to tell them about your programs. He's asking if you recorded any of those.
We have notes from them. We have constructed notes, but not recordings. We had a note taker that took notes. So who was that, Tim?
Yeah.
So Tim, what the convenings a lot were about too was you saw my 3 pillars were priorities, pipeline.
Yes.
So that was the priority building. It was going to nonprofits and trying to figure out what rose to the top every time we met. What does everyone agree on that would be the critical mass of something that we need to do. And that was very, very helpful. I mean, we found out kind of what the neighborhoods want to do.
That's
We
great.
found a lot of policy gaps, of course, in being able to do those. So that's what came out of some of those meetings. So
That's great.
yeah,
I'll try to follow up later.
that'd be fine. That'd be
Thank
great.
you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. I don't see anyone else's hands coming up. So thank you very much, Claire and Judy, for logging on. I think there's going to be other opportunities with audiences and constituents within the St. Louis region. So we'll be keeping in touch with you to see if you'd be willing to do some more presentations in the future.
I really
So
appreciate what you do, Aaron, because you are a communicator. You help with this education and outreach portion. We really appreciate it.
thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys.